Hello back again. Thanks for watching. This is the second part on my talks on martial arts. Last video I promised I would say some words about the strategic approach. Like I said last video, you can have three kinds of violence. Sudden violence, the asshole just jumps you. A ritual fight, we will get into that, or a mugging where they basically are after your money. Now, we also said there are three phases in the tactical approach. Before the violence, during the violence, and after the violence. In the strategic approach we have more. There we have the phase of planning, training, before the violence, directly after the violence, during the violence, directly after the violence, and long after the violence. So, I was wrong. 6 phases of strategic approach. Before I get into what they mean and what they are good for, let us look at a practice case. Case 1. You walk alone along the street. A thug attacks you. You strike him down, knock him out. What is the viable thing to do after that? Well, obvious, run. Since in the streets, the only victory is getting away alive and relatively unharmed. So you are alone, you are attacked, you knock him out, run. You do not know how many of his buddies are around the next corner, and you, frankly spoken, also do not know how well armed they are. Now let's look at the same situation with one major difference. You do not walk alone. You walk with your wife, girlfriend, buddy, daughter, son. In other words, you walk together with a person whom you care for. The same thug jumps you, you knock him out again. It was a violent and a chaotic encounter. You didn't see everything that was going on. And when the guy is knocked out, you see a bloody knife lying on the ground. And you see your buddy, wife, girlfriend, child sitting on the ground holding a bleeding wound. Now, what do you do now? Sorry and forgive me for being blunt about that. If your advice in this situation still is run, then you are a piece of shit and those videos are not for you. Like I said, on this I'm blunt. If you want to call yourself a warrior, the obvious answer is you stay. Because you still don't know how many buddies of the other guy are around the corner. And you do not want to leave your buddy behind. So, you stay, because you cannot run. What now? So, what now is clear. You must call the ambulance, because you do not know how severe the wound is. Knife wounds, as any expert and any veteran from the fields can tell you, are no joke. You shouldn't be kidding and fooling around with them. They are for the hands of doctors, surgeons, or paramedics. So, you have a bloody knife and a bloody wound. First thing, make sure that your mate does not move, because it might be a superficial scratch, or it might be a deep wound with inner bleedings. It is not for you and not for your body to determine. There are reports of knife wounds where the person who was stabbed felt almost nothing and felt well. Took a few steps and collapsed for inner bleeding. So, if you have a knife wound, a man down with a bleeding wound, that man doesn't move. Period. So your responsibility is make sure your body doesn't move. Call the ambulance. Now, if you know anything about such procedures, you know if you call the ambulance and say there is a knife wound involved, the ambulance will call the cops anyway. There is no choice about that. Since there is no choice about calling the ambulance, you do know you have to be able to deal with the cops. Best policy is you call the cops in for yourself. This is for 2 reasons. A, you want the ambulance to arrive as fast as possible to get your buddy, child, mate, wife, girlfriend into safety. B. You want the cops to arrive as fast as possible, because you still do not know how many friends the other guy has and what their intentions might be. Perhaps he is a loner. Perhaps he has a whole pack around the next corner. So you definitely want the cops to arrive fast, if you cannot run. So you call the ambulance, then you call the cops. What do you call then? Your lawyer. You got it. Now, you can imagine, if really something like this happens, you are under a high stress environment. High stress situation. So, just memorizing this from a video is not enough. You got to train what you have to do. And you have got to train this like you do train your martial skills. Like you start out with one fist punch. And then slowly work it up to become the straight blast. And then slowly work it up to train this under usage conditions. Sorry. Pretty much you have to train how to really call an ambulance so that you have a high chance that they arrive in time. And you have to got to know their procedures. So take a course for paramedics for civilians and practice that until you know, when you are drunk as a skunk and completely in a chaotic situation, until you still know what to do in order to call the ambulance. Sorry, that's just like it. You must be able to call an ambulance under all circumstances. Second, you must know how to call the cops also so that they come rather fast. Because believe me, if you don't want a cop around, they have a tendency to just show up. But if you want one around, they seem to have a magical tendency to not show up. And in order to overcome that part of Murphy's Law, you gotta know what you are doing when you call the cops. And after that, obviously what you need is to call your lawyer. I will get into your lawyer part. And then you can only send some prayers to the heavens that the paramedics and the cops arrive in time. When the cops arrive in time, you got to have training in police procedure and know what you are doing when you deal with them. For instance, what you don't want to do is make a statement on what happened before your lawyer arrived. You want the cops on scene in order to remain safe and in order to keep your body safe, not in order to make a statement. But certainly you must give your name, your address and such, and they will try to pressure you into making a statement. So you must be trained to withstand that kind of pressure and to withstand that kind of pressure while you remain as calm and polite as possible, and while not giving away any of your rights and not giving away any strategic ground given the impending lawsuit that will inevitably come. So, you need to be able to call in an ambulance, you need to be able to call in the cops, you need to be able to deal with the ambulance personnel, you need to be able to deal with the cops, and you need to have a lawyer at the ready. More about this in the next video. Basically, I would like to put that all in one video, but there is, as you know, that time limit of YouTube, so I have to split the videos. So, for video number 2, thanks for watching. We will see each other again in video number 3. Stay safe, practice diligent, be blessed.